What's up, everybody? Back for another Spreecast, and my guest today is from the real world back to San Diego. Is Alex? How we doing, Alex?
Good. How are you?
I'm great. So this is great to finally talk to you on my Spreecast.
I know.
But what been having the pleasure to be able to come on camera a bunch of times on
hmm
yours, and have talked to your castmates during battle of the seasons. So my first question is, I always ask all my guests this. Before you tried out for Real World, what were you doing?
Before I tried out for Real World, I was actually signed to Alicia Keys' production team's label, and I was like working as a songwriter and then recording my own music with them, which was way different from the stuff that you heard on the Real World. There was a lot of like pop, kind of like dancey sort of stuff.
hmm hmm And then I know from listening to your Spreecast of how you tried out, you only had to go to one interview.
Well, I think I came into the whole interviewing audition process really late. Like everyone else said that their process was like a few months long, and they went to like hometown interviews and casting calls, and then they wound up doing a couple more like that, and then coming to LA. But I think what happened was I came in really late in the game, and I'm pretty sure they'd cast most of the roommates already, and they were looking for something like really specific. So I think I just kind of like happened to fit like that specific thing that they wanted. It's not like, oh, I only had one interview and everyone had a ton. It's more just like they wanted a certain like character type. And one night I randomly decided that I wanted to like submit a little application online. I sent them a paragraph about myself, and I didn't even really take it seriously. It was kind of just like, what's going to happen? I guess I'll find out. And I wound up going in for an interview the following week, and within like a week from that, I knew I was going to be on the show.
hmm Okay, the next question I want to bring up is from Morgan. Let me put that on screen. What location do you wish you were able to experience other than San Diego?
Honestly, I was really excited to be in San Diego and just grateful to be anywhere doing the show. But I would have loved to go somewhere overseas, maybe Asia, Thailand. And I'm really hoping one day they do a show called The Real World, where they don't put us in some luxurious home or like a private island. They want them to throw a bunch of kids in the middle of like my village in Zimbabwe or in the middle of some rainforest and have them really kind of rough it. And I would have loved, I was kind of like secretly hoping that's something that our season would have been, even though it kind of goes against the whole real world format.
hmm Kind of like the challenge of the island.
Totally.
That
Because
was an interesting one.
I feel like we've seen so honestly, I love the real world. It's a great show, and every season is different because there are different people on it. But you kind of know what to expect. You know, they're going to be in a house. It's going to be a really nice house. It's going to be probably somewhere, standard as far as vacation towns go. They're going to go out and party. They're going to come home and hook up. And that's all fun and entertaining. But I would love to see that whole scenario moved into the wild. Just to
Yeah.
change it. Yeah. David says a
hmm
Survivor real world spin-off. That's like exactly what I would love to see. I think it'd be really cool, like
Oh
some
yeah,
weird combination of the challenge and the real world.
that would be cool.
Mhm.
So let me put this one. Let me put this second question up from Morgan. Out of all the destinations possible for your rural season, what were your initial reactions to finding out you guys were in San Diego?
You want to know the truth? I was in my interview and I said, "How would you feel if we told you were going to be in San Diego?" And I didn't want to seem ungracious and unexcited. So I was like, oh, that'd be awesome. I've never been to San Diego. In my mind, I was like, really, guys? I wanted to go overseas. I wanted to go somewhere I could never have afforded to go in my life.
hmm
But the cool thing about San Diego is it was really, really close to all of my friends and loved ones and my boyfriend at the time. And if I had been anywhere else, it would have been so much harder to keep in touch with them. So that was definitely a perk. And another great thing was a lot of the time when they're overseas, it's really hard to go out. They have really strict security as far as the cast members go and liability. So when they're in foreign countries, they can't really wander off on their own as much. You got to go with a crew member. Like you don't see it, but they send someone to walk alongside you if you're walking places alone and they don't fill them. But in San Diego, since it's relatively safe or extremely safe, we were able to kind of do our own thing and wander around and explore the city a lot more than they actually get to do when they go abroad. So it had a lot of
Mhm.
upsides.
Hmm. Let me ask you a follow-up question to that. I know Priscilla is actually from San Diego, right?
Hmm.
How was her feelings being on a rural in her same town? Because I was thinking to myself when I found out she was from San Diego, she must have thought, "What a jip, being in the same city."
Yeah. Well, I think she was slightly unexcited at first, but Priscilla's a really big family person, and her whole family lives here.
Mhm.
Her family's probably the most important thing in the world to her. And even when she was going to go to college, she was really debating between going to school here in San Diego or going up to Davis, where she went. And that was a really tough decision for her because she wanted to be near family. So at the end of the day, I think it was a lot better for her that her family was here and that she was able to see her mom as often as she wanted to, her brothers and sisters and everyone. So I think it was a cool thing. We even got to visit her family during our season, which was awesome.
Yeah, I remember that was cool.
Mhm.
Okay, let me bring up Christian's question. What did you think about the cast of your season of the world? Um,
I think that as individuals, everyone was really awesome. I think, though, as a cast, we weren't really cohesive. You see a lot of casts where they become really, really close friends and, best friends forever. And that's definitely not us. And I don't think there are really any hard feelings between anyone in our cast at this point. Everyone, appreciates each other. And I've never had really any issues with anyone to begin with, as you kind of saw in the season. But sometimes
mm,
people just aren't meant to be best friends. You meet a lot of people in your lifetime, and not everyone's going to be your best friend. And they even say that I think most people die with like two or three really close friends. So I do wish that we kind of were closer as a house. And I do honestly feel that in some ways I can relate better to kids from other seasons, like the cast of St. Thomas. I get along really well with pretty much all of them. And I can't even imagine
mm,
what kind of season it would have been if I had been in that house. It probably would have been an entirely different experience for me. And you probably would have seen sides of me that I only show people who are close to me. I'm one of those people who I am fairly private, honestly, in that although I'm willing, if you ask me a question about anything, I'll answer it. I don't like open up to people I'm not close to and people who I don't like relate to in some way or another. So um,
mhm,
I think had I been on a different season with different types of people who'd also been through different life experiences, if I'm being honest, like for me, I like love my cast, but we all grew up so differently, and that's such a great thing because it's great to get to know people from different backgrounds. But sometimes it's refreshing to be around someone where you can explain your upbringing and your family, and they go, "Oh, I totally get you." And that's how I feel with a lot of the members of the St. Thomas cast. Like a lot of us have really similar upbringings, and I kind of wish
mhm.
there was someone in our season I could have related to in that way. But at the same time, um, I wouldn't take it back for the world. Like I love each of my roommates, and I think that it's such a great experience that you can't really look back on it and be like, oh, well, it would have been better if I had had this and that. It was just like a great experience to have in the first place.
Definitely. One thing that I remember about you on the season of Rural San Diego is you won that contest from House of Blues.
Hmm.
What was it like to win that contest?
It was cool. It was so funny because sorry, I'm all fidgety. I'm like sitting on the floor and it's so uncomfortable. You know when you sit on a hard floor or a chair for too long and your butt just starts to hurt?
Oh yeah.
um, It was really interesting because at the beginning of the contest, everyone kind of teamed up, and I was like, "There's no way I'm
Yeah.
gonna be able to win this if everybody's teamed up and I'm doing it on my own." But I don't know. I think that the other teams had a tactic. If you guys saw the episode, where they thought they could scan the same phone a million times, and they end up getting a ton of scans. So rather than going up to a lot of different people and getting multiple scans from a number of individuals, they went to a few people and just kept clicking their phones. And it turns out that that tactic didn't really work as well as they thought it would. And so that's kind of how, by some crazy twist of fate and luck, I wound up winning.
How much money did you win?
Like, it's like $400 or so.
Nice. Oh, yeah, that was definitely a good highlight of that season.
It wasn't like the lottery jackpot, but it was still really, $400 you can do a lot with.
Hmm. Hmm. Um, yeah, as far as the season goes, who do you keep in contact with the most?
I talked to, I would say probably Frank the most. He's in LA. And actually, you didn't really see it on our season, but he and I were probably like the closest of everyone in the house. And a lot of people don't really get that. But my thing is, when I meet someone who is really different from me, I make it my goal to get to know them and to find similarities. And I think that like when you start looking for similarities rather than differences, you find that you can get along with pretty much anyone. You know, like we all as
Hmm.
people have a lot in common. Number one, everyone wants to be like loved and have friends, right? That's human nature. And if you can
Yeah.
observe that and like befriend someone and be friends with someone who maybe you don't relate to, but you can relate to on the level that you just want a friendship, I think it can work out. And that's how we wound up becoming friends. And also, kind of in the beginning of the season, people weren't really supportive of him, and they were quick to kind of want to kick him out of the house. Whereas I felt like if you have someone in the house who's struggling with anything, it's kind of your responsibility as a friend and as a roommate, and just like as a part of this experience to like try to help them through whatever it is they're going through and encourage them to stay. Like, who would want anyone to miss out on the experience of a lifetime?
Definitely. And then another question I have is actually kind of fade into the challenge. What do you think about him and Zach setting their differences aside? Because I mean, that was a whole curveball in itself. Because I thought those two still hated each other going into this past challenge.
Honestly, from the beginning, like of our season in the house, I would always tell both of them, you guys are pretty much the same person, and the only thing that they had um, differences of opinion on was, you know, sexuality. And I don't really think that's ever a reason not to be friends with someone. I have friends who are Christian and totally against homosexuality who have friends who are gay. You know, and I think at the end of the day, you should be able to set your beliefs aside and still befriend people regardless. You know, and so when it came to them, I would always encourage them to kind of talk to each other. And they actually grew up really similarly. Their families are similar. Their values are actually really similar too. The only difference is that Frank's gay, and like toward the beginning of our season, Zach wasn't really ever exposed to someone gay in the first place. I don't think it was that Zach's uncomfortable with it. He just never really been around it. And that's a reality of society today. We think, for example, I live in California where it's so normal to me. Like, it doesn't weird me out.
Oh,
I think it's
definitely.
awesome. Girls hit on me and I'm like flattered. But you go to other places in the world, like a small town in Michigan, and it's just not normal. And people aren't as open about their sexuality, and it's not as in your face. And so for Zach, it was just kind of, I think, a shock to move into a house where it was all in his face. You know, like Frank having sex in the shower, Frank having sex here, and Frank can do whatever he wants in his house too. But they just both came from such different viewpoints in that sense. And I think the second they were able to realize that that was their only difference, they were able to become friends. And it's kind of what I hoped for and encouraged all along, because they're both actually
Hmm.
really, really good people, and they're both misunderstood in some ways.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I definitely see what you mean. I mean, being from California myself, I work at Forever 21, and
Yeah.
I see people of
Oh,
that sexuality all the
discount?
time.
Can you get me a discount? Close.
You're not the first cast member that's asked that.
I'm gonna send you my
Okay,
wish
let me get.
list, Andrew.
I'll go for it. Go for it. Okay, let me put up David's question. If you had to do the real world again, what location would you want to be as for the real world?
Hmm. I don't know, honestly. Like I told you, probably somewhere overseas, probably somewhere a little more rugged. I'd love to take people back to like a village in Zimbabwe, or, you know, somewhere in Thailand, or a rainforest in South America. I just want to see the real world go somewhere more indigenous and less industrialized and less developed. And I think it would just be super interesting. But I don't know if they can do that just due to liability, and they already have so many issues when it comes to insurance and safety of cast members, even when they do shows here in America. Like, I couldn't walk alone at night, which I do all the time. Like, you know, it's like 11 p.m. and you say, I'm going to walk to 7-Eleven now. And they would have to send someone with me because, not because they think something's really going to happen, but because when you're running a show like that, if something does happen, they're totally responsible while you're under their contract.
Definitely. Yeah, yeah. I like this that stuff about going overseas. I think last season having it go to St. Thomas
Hmm.
kind of backfired on him in a way because
Hmm.
of all the stuff that happened in St. Thomas.
Hmm.
So
Totally.
let me
I'm
bring
just
up another
reading the
question.
chat box.
Uh, Let me bring up David's question because I haven't got to his yet. Let me put it on screen. If you could submit that question again, David, Oh, wait a minute. Here we go. Speaking of your music, when will we be seeing it on iTunes? I remember I asked you this question before.
Mhm. Mhm. And I feel like I've always given, the answer in a month, and it never happens. But that's just been because I'm working in a band now, and what you guys saw in our season of the Real World was kind of the first time I'd worked with people. But we weren't necessarily a band. We like came together for the summer, but we came from different cities, and it was really hard to coordinate. Meeting up after the fact with like three people's work schedules, not living in the same town. But I actually moved to San Diego back to San Diego a couple of months ago because I'm working with a bunch of musicians down here. And our EP is almost done. Actually, the guys were in the studio last night finishing up one of the songs. And we should have a single, I don't want to call it a single, but a song out on iTunes and on YouTube. I guarantee it by the end of February. Like, I promise on my life that it's going to be out there. We're shooting the video in a couple of weeks.
Nice, nice.
Hmm.
So yeah, a couple more questions I want to ask, and guys, before I continue, guys, if you guys want to submit a question, the submit question box is right below Alex, right there. Appreciate all the questions you guys are asking. Appreciate everybody who's tuning in. This is the most viewers I've had on one Spreecast, so hey, doing something right. So
Awesome.
yeah, some of the things I wanted to ask you is when it came to the challenge with Team San Diego,
Hmm.
you got people like Zach and Ashley who ended up breaking up, and Frank and Sam, from what Frank's been has said in your Spreecast in the past, they were cool, but they weren't like best of friends, which TV made him seem to be like that. Um, like how did you feel the chemistry of that team was throughout the whole challenge?
Um, for one, it was really cool to see Frank and Zach and Ashley able to work together, especially considering everything we saw in our season of The Real World. And like you said and Frank said, the one thing people have to remember though is that on television they can make relationships seem as important or as unimportant as they want them to, or as tumultuous and turbulent, or as like peaceful as they want them to. There are a lot of conflicts even in our real world house between other roommates where you didn't see any of those fights. There are times when Priscilla and Frank absolutely hated each other, and now they love each other. And there are times when even like Priscilla and I kind of got into it. You just naturally, when you live with seven people in a house, are not going to get along all the time. So I think it's, everything you see on these shows is totally real, but you have to always consider that you're not seeing the full picture. And when you see arguments, not just between the San Diego cast, but in general, a lot of the time you only see one side of the argument. You see someone reacting, but maybe not what someone said to make them mad. Or you see someone saying something to make someone mad, but then not the other person's reaction. And so it's kind of built to make you have a very strong opinion about one person or the other. That's what TV is about, right? Especially reality TV. They want people to have really strong opinions about characters. And that's why you see really strong character types. You rarely see someone who's just like super well-rounded and like the nice person, but also sometimes mean, but also sometimes, annoying, but also sometimes funny, sometimes boring. Like you don't see someone with like every aspect of a human being that we all naturally have, because that wouldn't be interesting. Then you wouldn't be able to align yourself with a character and like root for them or tweet at them or fall in love with them or hate them. And I think as far as the San Diego dynamic goes, I can see every side of the argument. I can see why people felt like Frank and Zach weren't kind to Sam. I could also see how Frank and Zach were frustrated because they were really competing for the money and they felt like Sam wasn't pulling through athletically, which she even admit to. I can see where everyone's coming from, but unless you were there or I were there, I can't have an opinion on the arguments. I can't because I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know how everyone was treated.
Hmm. I mean, for the most part, when I talked to the three of them, I talked to all of the whole team except Frank. Sam, I talked to before the season started, and I didn't know they weren't getting along. Like I heard they got the same tattoo,
Yeah, they did in San
exact
Diego.
same tattoo.
Yeah, in San
Hmm.
Diego, they got the same tattoo. In San Diego, all the roommates got tattoos and like the Roman numerals and stuff. I didn't. I didn't get a tattoo. I
Yeah.
love my season. I love my season. I love my cast, but I just don't want a 26 anywhere on my body.
Hmm. Okay, let me get one of these questions up here. This is a good one. Morgan always asks good questions. She's been a good caller on my show.
Yo, Mark.
Asks very good questions. Where did you learn to be so open and honest? You are so positive and inspirational because you have an infectious personality. Where does that come from?
Mm, I'm not always positive. I'm not always inspirational. I definitely have moments where I feel bad or sad or I think mean things about people, but I'm more the type when I think those things to not say them. Like I don't think that it betters anyone's life to express all of your negative opinions about stuff. Like I could rant and rave even during while our season was airing, people were saying mean things or cast members were going back and forth and teaming up with each other and I never want to be the person who um hates on other people, or even on other situations. I just feel like it's much more beneficial to yourself and other people to be positive and not be fake, of course. I'm not going to smile at you when I'm unhappy or tell you I'm great when I'm not, but I'm also not going to go out of my way to be negative. And I think especially when it comes to, having the opportunity to do a show like The Real World, although it's not like fame by any means. It's just like a reality show and you come and go. I think that what little voice that real world personalities get, they should use to influence people to do positive things. And that's like even kind of why during my season I was trying to like volunteer a lot with the homeless and you didn't see it, but I was also working on like a homeless charity for a lot of the summer for like homeless musicians, and they didn't really feature that because it wasn't relevant to the storyline. But I just think it's really important to use your voice, whether you have one Twitter follower or millions, to to make people feel good and do good.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Okay, so let me bring up David's question. I think we already touched on this, but he might have missed it. Who do you get along with most from your season?
I think honestly, like while we were shooting, I got along pretty much with everyone. Whenever there were fights, I never really picked a side. I always tried to see where everyone was coming from. So I got along with pretty much everyone. And now I keep in touch probably with Frank the most. I talk to Sam once in a while and Priscilla once in a while. Nate, in general, no one really hears from except for like occasionally on Twitter.
That's what I've heard. That's
Yeah,
what
I
I've
don't.
heard
I
that Nate's gone somewhere else.
he's kind of like the Latoya of St. Thomas. Great people, funny personalities, but no one knows where they are. Like, where in the world is Nate? I don't know.
I
Every
love
once in a while,
Latoya.
I'll get a text from him or something, or like I
Hmm.
don't know. He's pretty funny. Actually, I'll share this with him. He won't mind. One day he was super wasted and he texted me like, "Have you ever thought about you and me?" And I was just like, "Nate, so polite, we'll chat." Um, yeah, we don't like in general, our season just doesn't keep in touch that much, but I don't think it's because of hard feelings. Like if I ran into any of my cast members, we'd probably have a good time and grab drinks and get along and make jokes. It's just like I said, not everyone's meant to be best friends. It's like you go to summer camp and you know how, I don't know if anyone here has been to like a summer camp or an outdoor school or something for college, but in the moment you think you're going to be best friends with everyone forever. You're like, we're going to be friends forever. We're going to keep in touch. And then as time goes on, you live your life and I'm kind of one of those like out of sight, out of mind people, and it's bad. And I actually want to work on that in general because I get really wrapped up in my work and like my life and the people who are around me, and I sometimes forget to keep in touch with people who are far away.
Hmm. Definitely. Um, what am I gonna? As far as for like people that you've met that weren't on your real season, was there anybody in particular that you wish was?
On my season,
Yeah.
I mean, I like a lot of the St. Thomas kids. If I could be just like transplanted onto St. Thomas, that would be pretty cool. Cara Maria is really awesome. I think she's fantastic. Emily Fitzpatrick from Real World Cancun is really awesome. I do tons of Spreecast with her here. Who else? Who else? The funny thing is, I don't really keep up with the whole real world scene. I know a lot of them kind of like hang out. I'm just so focused right now on working and I don't know, kind of figuring out what the next step is. And I love having done the show, but I don't necessarily want to be the girl from the real world forever. I think that there's so many cool things that everyone who's done the show can do. We have Trey, who from St. Thomas, who is speaking now about growing up in a family, where his father had and addiction. And like that's such a big thing to do, right? I don't want Trey to be the guy from the real world. I want Trey to be the guy who like travels around the world and like speaks to people about that. And I think each real worlder has a really cool story that they could launch into something outside of the show. And at the same time, people who kind of stay in the family and stay doing the show, that's cool too, because everyone wants something to watch, and I like watching it. But I kind of, I want to accomplish a lot of things in my life, and I don't want being on the real world to be the last thing.
Can I put what Morgan just said? And be like Jamie Chung, who did the world and now is famous. Actually, brings me up to actually a good question. Have you actually talked to anybody from the original San Diego season before?
No, I haven't.
No. No, that was with Jamie, Brad, Robin, who I love. I love Robin.
The original
Randy.
awesome. Like the original San Diego season was a blast. We couldn't hold a candle to that one.
hmm Let me see here. Let me bring this one up. Morgan, like I said, always good questions. What do you consider to be the most memorable part of your world experience?
I would say, a really meaningful moment for me was actually just kind of forming a band and performing for the first time, because I told you I had been working like with Alicia Keys' group of producers and musicians for a few years before that, but I was mainly songwriting and I had never performed, and I was doing more behind the scenes stuff and writing songs for other people. And I hadn't really ever seriously considered being an artist. I didn't like attention or to, I was really nervous to sing in front of people, just like unbearably nervous. I would even shake when I had to go into the vocal booth in the studio and sing for the people I worked with day after day. So I didn't really think I was gonna perform, and at one point I even didn't want to. And one of the producers, although maybe I shouldn't share it, he was like, "Don't you want to perform?" And I was like, "No, not really. I was thinking I'd just focus on like making this homeless musician charity." And he's like, "Well, you and your band should just try it one more time." And so I did, and I realized I really liked it. And after the first show we had, I realized for the first time that I really do want to be a performer and to be an artist and not just someone kind of in the background. And that's not just because I like the feeling of being on stage, but because I think that as an artist, you have so much potential to say positive things and to share your stories and the things you've learned in your life with the world. And I think that's such
No
a
doubt.
valuable thing. Yeah.
That's one.
I was,
That's one thing I like talking to all you guys. You guys definitely all have a story to tell, and that it's definitely fun. It's definitely fun to hear
yeah.
from me and from the people that call into my shows, like Morgan, like David, who almost every single show that I have. So I mean, definitely hear what you guys have to say is definitely fun. I mean, I wish we had this. I wish we had this technology 4 or 5 years ago,
Mhm. Mhm.
because I
Totally.
mean it makes it so much interesting.
Yeah. I'm trying to think.
One of the last. Go
Oh,
ahead.
I was trying to think of some other memorable things, because honestly, like the whole thing was memorable. But what's crazy about the real world experience is that it simultaneously goes by so slowly and then so quickly. And if you can ask anyone on our cast, I don't know if it's like this for every cast. The first week, we were just like, "Damn, we've only been here a week. We have to be here another like 3 months, really, guys? I don't know if we're gonna make it." Like it was so slow. And as awesome as the experience is, you do miss the comforts of home and not being filmed and people not hearing you fart in a microphone. It's just like the little things that we don't really think about when we're just hanging out. So it goes by really slowly, but then once it's over, it just kind of is a blur. It feels almost so much like a dream that it's hard to, because it is such an unrealistic setting. It is the real world and everything that happens is real, but the setting is unrealistic. One phone, one car, one computer, 7 people, random home, random town, no job really. Like we have a job, but we don't go that often. Just partying every day. It's very unrealistic. So it just feels like a dream. It whizzes by you, and when you look back on it, it almost feels like it didn't happen.
Definitely. So one of the last questions I want to ask you before we get into your music, what got you into doing this whole Spreecast thing? Like, how did you get
I
this
while
interested in it?
while I was like right as our season started airing, one of my friends hosted a Spreecast channel, and she did a couple interviews with me, and I did a couple live shows with my boyfriend at the time, Byron, and we really liked the platform. We thought it was a really cool way to engage with people and to interact, so much more interactive than just tweeting or Facebooking links or YouTubing videos. And it's a great way to keep people updated and to just have fun. It's a lot of fun, especially now with all of the cool features. Like you can watch shows with people on Hulu and you can pull videos up and photographs. And it's just a great way,
Wow.
I think, it's such a cool way to stay engaged. And it's so much easier to talk to someone and like be open and honest when you can see their face than when you're just like blank screen or a phone call or a tweet. So that's why I really like it. And I did one and then I wound up doing another and I just suddenly was doing them all the time.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun, and from watching your Spreecast, I definitely want to keep doing more. Like, I'm gonna do an interview. Was gonna do it yesterday
Hmm.
with Ace,
Yeah,
who you've had on your show
yeah, she's awesome.
before. She's awesome. I've had her on my show multiple times. I actually had her co-host one of my interviews with CJ, which was a lot of fun. I'm gonna have her on soon. Trying to get Devin Simone, who I've had on my radio show
Oh,
before,
that's
because she,
awesome.
she she has a good experience with the whole catfish thing.
Yeah.
So I
I
want to
think
get her take on it.
I think one with Devin next week too. I'm really excited to talk to her because she was honestly my favorite person on the season of the challenge. She's so funny,
She was
so
amazing.
her one-liners are just like she should be a comedian. Like I think she should be a stand-up comedian.
hmm like I told her, if she's not on this next challenge, I hope she does the screening room, like the thing that Evan and Paula did on MTV.com this past season. I would love to see her and
Yeah,
either Chet or either Evan do
Chet.
be the co-host.
I would want Chet and Devin to definitely host. I think them together, or even if they hosted like the real world reunions together or something, would be a blast.
hmm hmm So yeah, guys, if you guys want to come on camera real quick, gonna wrap this up in about a few minutes. Feel free to hit the camera button. Don't be shy.
Everyone's afraid of the camera button, even from doing these precasts multiple a day. It's very rare that you get a bunch of people on the camera.
hmm You've had a couple shows where a lot of people have gone on. We actually
I
have
just want to
somebody.
be able to renegade camera people and be like, "Oh, you didn't want to be up here, but you are."
All right, I'm gonna bring David on real quick.
Okay.
What's up, David?
Hey, Alex.
Hey.
Hey, can you hear me, guys?
Yeah.
I just wanted to say hi really quickly, and maybe ask because when I was a kid, my parents moved to the States, and I like know that you moved to the States like when you were younger. So like if you kind of experienced culture shock, or if you got
Mhm.
used to it quickly. I guess that's kind of what I wanted to ask.
Yeah. Where did you move from?
From the Czech Republic. Well, actually, now I'm back in the Czech Republic again.
Mhm. Oh
Complicated
wow,
story.
that's
Really?
really cool. So for
They filmed
me,
they filmed the challenge there.
yeah, for me, my family, we moved here.
Actually, they filmed it
Go
like
ahead.
sorry. They filmed it like 2 miles away from where I live, and I didn't know
Wow.
that.
Really?
And then I found out after
It
after it
was
was on
cutthroat,
the
wasn't it?
TV, and I was like, oh man.
It was
Sorry,
cutthroat,
saying
wasn't
what?
it? It was the challenge cutthroat, right? That was in Czech Republic.
Yeah, cutthroat. And it was like
Yeah, that's right.
at the end of the challenge, the castle that they climb. That's like I can look out my window and I see the castle. I was like, oh man, I had no idea.
Wow, that's really cool.
hmm
Anyway, so sorry,
Oh, no
sorry for
worries.
cutting you off, Alex.
Cut me off anytime. I think when you cut people off, it means you're excited. I don't know this whole American thing where it's rude to cut people off. Why? I'm excited to talk to you. um, let's
I'm
see.
like I
Go ahead.
sorry again, but it's just that actually I got to talk to you once before on the Cam, but my microphone didn't work, and I like it was just really awkward. That's what I would use because like you were talking and I couldn't talk back. I was like, oh no man, she's gonna think I'm like completely like I don't know weird or something that
No
I'm not talking
way.
back.
We'll just have to learn sign language for any time this happens. So moving to the States from Zimbabwe, yeah, it was a total culture shock because there, for one, like girls and guys don't really talk. you don't really like in America, everyone hugs to greet each other there, and no one's really touchy feely. Like growing up, I never saw my parents like kiss in front of me. It's a really conservative culture too, and here it's very liberal. And I definitely have adopted a lot of American and Western viewpoints now that I've lived here a while. But when I first moved here, it was totally shocking. I remember this guy used to hug me every day when I'd come to school, like, "Hey, Alex." And my dad always said, if a boy ever touches you, that is sexual harassment. So I was like, don't do that. Next day he hugs me. I say, don't do that. Third day he hugs me. I go to the principal, and then I had him suspended for sexual harassment, and all he was doing was hugging me hello. It was horrible. But I met him a few years later and apologized because I had no idea, that was totally normal. And now I'm such a hugger. Like I hug everyone, even when I just meet them for the first time. But other than that, the thing that was really interesting was um, I grew up in rural Zimbabwe, and we didn't we didn't have multiple pairs of clothing or multiple pairs of shoes or anything, and I didn't care about fashion or being cool. What mattered was like, does your family have food? Are you going to school? And that was about it. And like, is there rainfall so nobody's thirsty and the crops are growing? And so it was such a crazy adjustment to move here, where people really value like kind of superficial stuff and like having things they don't need. Even me, like I don't have a lot of stuff by any means. I can fit most of my belongings into 2 suitcases, but for me that's still too much. Like I think that here there's like so much pressure to have more than your neighbor, whereas in countries like Zimbabwe where everyone has very little, nobody really wants for more because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen big flat screen TVs and crazy Corvettes and like perfume ads and Louboutin heels, and I, in a way, miss that mentality because here we're just trained to want everything we don't have. That's what commercials are for. That's what billboards are for, and it's stressful. And we've started to kind of like value people too much, I think, based on appearances and what they have versus who they are. And that took me forever to get used to. I felt so kids made so much fun of me because I'd wear like the same clothes to school all the time because I was like, well, it's clean and like what's for me, if it's clean you can wear it as many times as you want. So I'd like wear some clothes, wash them, wear them the next day, and that was normal to me. Like that's what we do in Zimbabwe. That's what people do there. They don't have a closet, a wardrobe, and kids would make so much fun of me, and that took a lot of adjusting. And I mean, now I'm a fashionista. I'm kidding, but yeah, it's just culturally very different, and I wish that we cared a little bit less about that sort of stuff, and we really started valuing people based on who they are and not how they appear and what they have.
And have you been back to Zimbabwe? Do you like visit family there, or is it just
Yeah, my mom actually lived there until a couple
I
of years.
remember.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you go ahead.
Oh, my mom actually lived there until a couple of years ago, so I was going back for holidays and stuff a lot, and all of my extended family is still there. Just my immediate family, like my mom, my brother, my sisters, my dad are in the States.
Because I remember when the first time I went back to like where I grew up, I kind of experienced like another culture shock, getting used
I
to
bet.
the Czech Republic again,
Yeah.
and I completely like underestimated the situation. Like I had a completely like changed picture of what
Hmm.
home looked like, and then the
Yeah.
first time I like saw my old friends and all of that, I was like, wow, this is like completely different, like something that I have to get used to again.
Mhm. It totally is. I think when you just go
Thanks,
back and
thanks.
forth.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
thanks for having me on.
No problem,
Thank-
man. Anytime.
Awesome questions.
Thanks for coming on from Czech Republic, man.
I
That's
know.
awesome. Alrighty,
Exciting.
man. That was fun. I've had a couple people from out of country before. Like I've had a couple callers from Canada before, which is cool. And then I have somebody on Twitter who follows me from Croatia, which is cool. Never thought I'd have people out of the States following me, actually
Yeah.
listening to shows and stuff. So yeah, what I want to ask you before we play Beggar and one of your new singles, um, what inspired you to become a musician?
I Honestly, well, one, my mom's side of the family is really, really musical, but they kind of like hide it and they all went into corporate jobs or became doctors and whatnot, but they're all musically talented. And then on my dad's side of the family, just in the village in Zimbabwe, it's just a musical community in general because we don't have any other form of entertainment. There's no TV, there's no electricity, there's no YouTube, MySpace, whatever, cell phones. So we entertain ourselves with music. So I've always been surrounded by it, but I didn't really want to be a musician per se. When I was a kid, I wanted to be a poet, and I started writing a poem a day from like when I was 3 up until even now. And my last year of college, I was just getting really frustrated. I was studying civil engineering, and it just wasn't artistic enough for me. And so I started going back into poetry, and that evolved into kind of singing the poems, and that evolved into me buying a keyboard and then writing a song and recording it and putting it on MySpace, and that's how Alicia Keys people found me. It was just a random song on MySpace, and they started flying me down to LA my senior year on weekends to write music in the studio with them, and then I started doing it so much it became really hard to keep up. And then toward the end of my senior year, I ended up just moving to LA.
Hmm. Did you meet her background singer who won The Voice season 2?
Yeah, I did it.
Rain Paul.
Yeah, a couple years ago backstage at one of her shows.
He seems like a very classy dude.
Yeah, really talented and really awesome. It's like about time he, gets his own career because he's really great.
And then the winner of The Voice last season, was actually made a cameo
Famous.
appearance on Real Brooklyn.
She also
Cass-
what was her name?
Cassidy Pope. Cassidy Pope.
She also was in a pretty famous band called Hey Monday before that, which
Yeah.
kind of makes me wonder if you already had like a following and some sort of fame, is it fair to the other contestants? I think Jermaine is talented and Cassidy's fantastic, and they both totally deserve to win. But on the other hand, you think it's about voting, right? And you start to kind of wonder, well, these people had a huge following. Like Alicia Keys was tweeting to all millions of her fans, vote for Jermaine. And then to be like some random small town girl who maybe is really talented but doesn't have someone like that backing you, it'd be really hard to compete with that.
Definitely. One more question. Just got another question in before we play the music. Um, I, I wish I could pronounce that name.
Malik.
Uh,
Malik.
Malik. Do you watch Bad Girls Club?
No, I don't. But it's definitely an entertaining show. I don't have TV. I don't. I watch a lot of documentaries. I'm boring, and like the History Channel and the Animal Planet. But no, I don't watch Bad Girls Club.
Mm. Yeah, the only person I actually like follow on Twitter from Bad Girls Club, because she made an appearance on the AfterBuzz show for the challenge. Because she had a little bit of a thing with Zach, the Danny. Because that's why I asked a question to Trey about Danny yesterday.
Awesome.
Okay, guys. So what I want to do right now is I'm gonna go ahead and play Alex's video. One of the first songs we met that was actually on Real World Back to San Diego. Beggar. So what you guys want to do? I'm gonna put it on screen. What you guys want to do is just go ahead and hit play. Love that song.
Thanks. We're actually recording that one, like the studio version, I think next week or the week after. So that will definitely be on
Mhm.
iTunes around the same time we release
Mhm.
the first one. David, it'll be
Yeah,
out. It's out
David.
in February.
Definitely.
I finally have
So yeah.
I finally have like a band together that we're like really recording the songs the way we want them to. It's really hard when you have a song like that, like a live version, and then you want to recreate it in the studio because you want to make it sound like an official recorded version. At the same time, you don't want it to sound too different from the live version. So it like takes a long time to figure out exactly how you're gonna make stuff happen the right way.
Definitely. Yeah. Like the cool one of the coolest things about watching the real world is definitely musicians like yourself and past seasons from what I remember, Sahar from the previous season before you, she
Hmm.
was a good musician. I think Devin was actually a musician on her seat. She actually did a few songs on her season.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So yeah. The now it's you ready to play your new song?
Sure, I'll play a little bit of it. It's going to be kind of bootleg because I'm going to play it out of my speakers. So we'll see if it works volume-wise for you guys. If you want me to turn it up or down, just say in the chat box, like, turn it up or turn it down. Because I have no idea really how it's going to play.
What's the song called so I can put it on
So
screen?
it's called The Pact. My new band's name is actually Samson and Delilah. I put the, you can just put the band's Facebook page up. I submit like a little thing for us. So definitely go like our page right there. Like our page and tell all your friends to like it. There's nothing really up there yet except for a picture, which you might even be able to, here, let me see if I can submit the picture for you guys to see. Hopefully I don't freeze. You stay right there. Ah. Okay, see if this pulls up for everyone. It might not because you might have to be logged into Facebook, but I'm submitting it in the little submit question thing. See if you can add that to the screen. Does it work?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so that's my band. That's my drummer, Kevin, who actually is the same drummer you guys saw in the real world, and it's our project. And he and I sing together. I sing like leads, and then he sings with me on a lot of stuff. He's got a great voice, and we're like collaborating on just like producing the tracks. And so this song, let's see if it works. I hope it's. Tell me, Andrew, to turn it up or down. Okay.
Okay.
When we started, we made a pact. Nothing serious, nothing less. Down?
Yeah. Definitely.
Is that good? Second
Yeah.
base with no questions asked. But I think I might be the fallen type if you call me one more time. Yeah, I think I might be
be the fallen type if you pour me some more wine. Oh, 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 tell me what you want and I'll give you that. Tell me what's wrong, I'll conquer it. Make me run, I like disrespect. But if it's just mine, don't make me sweat. Cause I think I might be the fallen type if you call me one more time. Yeah, I think I might be the fallen type if you pour me some more wine. Oh, 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 oh,
That's all I can play right now. But yeah, that's one of the
That was
songs we're
awesome.
working on. Thank you.
That was
Yeah.
awesome.
Oh, thanks. So that one's definitely going to be out within less than a month. We're shooting the video in a couple of weeks. We're going to do a live video of it, like in the studio, and then we're going to be shooting the official video for it in a little bit. And then we have another song coming out called Drunk. That's really fun. The chorus literally goes, "We should get drunk."
That does sound like fun.
I can show you a little bit of that one if you want to hear it, actually. But this one's
Absolutely.
totally, which is probably why it's better to play it anyway. Let's see.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. All right. Then I gotta run. I have to write articles for MTV. I'm such a bad employee. Okay. Let's see. Let me know how the volume of this one works. But this one's really sloppy musically, so don't judge too hard. Can you hear that?
Hey.
Too loud?
Good.
Good.
What's going on? Is something wrong? Something always is when it gets this calm. Before the storm, before the dawn. Put a smile on, then you drop that bomb. I know the drill. You shoot to kill. Bang, bang, and I'm down, but I'm with you still. But I'm with you still. Said if I cannot fix you, here's what I wanna do tonight. Do tonight. Yeah, if I cannot fix you, here's what I wanna do to make it right. To make it right. We could get drunk. 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 A shot for you and one for me. 10 more than we're back where we used to be. It's what we do, this Hennessy, so sweet.
That's it. But yeah. So we're working on a whole bunch
That
of
was
stuff.
awesome.
Thank you. It should be all coming out so soon.
Mm-hmm. So there's our Twitter names right there. CC Ray Kirk and Alex Govere. Are you doing any Spreecast today?
Today? Yeah, I'm actually at 1 o'clock or 1:30, depending on timing. I should be on with Brandon Swift from the Real World St. Thomas. If not, then he's like, scrambling with his schedule too. Then we're gonna do it around 3 o'clock Pacific time. But definitely at 2 p.m. I'll be on with Heather, who's in here right now. HRUV87. We're doing a beer cast, so we're gonna be having a beer and like talking about our favorite beers and why girls should drink beer and not just crappy, wimpy, girly cocktails.
And there's nothing wrong with drinking those. I just had one last night, mango margarita. It was good. So there's the Twitters. There's my Blog Talk link. I'm actually doing a show tomorrow. Actually interviewing Ruthie from Real World Hawaii.
Awesome.
Which is going to be a very interesting interview. That'll be tomorrow.
Tell her I say hi. She's a really, really, really great person.
Yeah, I definitely will. So that'll be at 4 o'clock tomorrow. I want to thank you for coming on. Definitely a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So you have a good afternoon, and see you later.
Yeah, totally. Thank you so much for having me. This was way fun. Bye.
All right, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.